All right, Evil Dead fans, per request, I'm going back over my Evil Dead 2 chainsaw. So, let's yapping, let's get to happening. What's up, Evil Dead fans? By request, by Horror Fan Fanatic, he wanted me to go back over the raised top chainsaw from Evil Dead 2. Now, if he wants me to go over the flat top, I can do that in another video. It's actually on its revamp right now, as you can tell. I'll go over that later. All the chainsaws I'm doing that I have are going over a revamp. So he wants me to go over some certain details with this chainsaw, and I am obliged to do that. All right, so let's look. First thing, I have Chris Pollock's nice grill on here. Now, if you don't know who Chris Pollock is, dude, the guy's fucking awesome. Okay, first thing you'll notice about the grill, you notice the gap at the top. Now, that is perfect. It's not supposed to be perfectly in center with the area right here. It's actually supposed to be, you know, where it's supposed to sit down below, and just a little bit of a gap up here. And one thing he told me when I installed it, he goes, well, it's on backwards. I said, what are you talking about, man? He goes, the fat side over here on this one should be over here. And I said, well, you know, he talked about the scene where Ash is being attacked by the trees and towards the end of the movie. I said, well, if you look when he's walking down the cellar with Henrietta, you'll see more of the grill on this side. So that's why I placed it on this side. The paint's not done with it yet. This chainsaw at the moment is going through a revamp as well, but I figured I would post a video on certain details for my humble subscriber, and I thank you again for subscribing. And all you guys are great. You guys are awesome. But yeah, this is one of Chris Pollock's grill, one of the imperfect grills. One thing is, you will notice I did blacken in the inside of the fins here, and it just really gives it so much life. I really, really dig it. Some guy made a comment, I think on Facebook, on the Knights of Samaria page. He goes, so imperfect is perfect now? Yes, it is. When it comes to Evil Dead 2, imperfect is perfect. All right, so simple enough. Let's go back over this. This is a 7/8 dowel, 7/8 dowel that is cut to 3 inches, somewhat rounded. Not too much, somewhat rounded. The pull string does work on this one. Okay, so we got that. You can use a heavier or darker stain for this if you really want to. You don't have to. You can dirty it up however you want. If you get a lighter stain, what you can do is just get some of that satin black that I always talk about, that folk art satin black all-purpose or multi-surface stuff, and just wipe it in if you really want to darken it up. Excuse me. When it comes to the caps, of course, the caps are swapped. You have the oil up here, and you have the gas oil mixture back here. They only did that specifically with this chainsaw. There is like veritables all over the place, like Ash vs. Evil Dead, the chainsaw in season 1, episode 1 that cuts the head off of Vivian. That one, the caps are swapped like this. So if you're doing Ash vs. Evil Dead, it does work as well. This one, you want to have the symbols on the body. Let's go to the top front. You will notice right here where the top stops, and that's where it should stop. You should have a little gap here. Now, when it comes to the nuts and bolts here, you can reverse these. You can make them funky. You can, you know, they don't have to be perfectly in place. But I did go with the scene to where you have these facing out, and I do prefer that, so that's why I went with that. So let's go this side. Now the paint, I tried to match up as much as possible to the, if you Google Evil Dead 2 chainsaw, you will see Bruce Campbell holding this up in a vertical position. So I tried to match that up as perfect as possible. When it comes to the muffler piece right here, you will see, you know, there is a backing in there that is a motor backing, which is a, that is a resin mold piece. It does have the other rounded piece back here that's supposed to be there. So, and that is screen accurate to Evil Dead 2. A lot of people, they turn it around and turn it backwards, which is okay, but it's really not accurate. That really just happened when Ash is getting sucked through the portal, and that chainsaw is actually a flat top, which I deemed the portal chainsaw. Now, if you look at the scene where he is stabbing Henrietta in the back with the chainsaw, this is still here, but it's cocked out, and there's just a flat backing, and there's some kind of weird bar from here down to here. And then we'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. Let's go back to this side over here. As you can see, still have the hole. Gotta have the hole. The toggle switch, I will go over on the placement on that in just a second. Now, when it comes to the top has to be shorter in the back and a nice hump up here. And if you want to get super accurate with the top, now the top has a severe dip right here. Now, you can do that, or like me, I just made a nice subtle dip because I didn't want it to be too funky. So it's, when you're making a top, don't make it too perfect. My friend Adam E. Creations made an awesome Evil Dead 2 race top, and I called him up and I said, you know what you did wrong in that? He goes, what? That thing's perfect. I said, yeah, your top's just a little too perfect. I was like, that thing is immaculate. So your top has to definitely come farther back here. And he laughed about that, of course. You know, he's a good guy. And definitely check him out, Adam E. Creations on Etsy. When it comes to the handle here on placement, now what you want, when I talk about, like, you know, especially Ash vs. Evil Dead, this has to be right in between here. But when it comes to Evil Dead 2, I actually replaced this handle not too long ago, just to get in the right position of height. It was less than 1/4 of an inch low, and it drove me nuts. So I actually replaced the top handle. So if you look at the scene whenever he's in the cellar and Henrietta throws his ass through the stairs, you'll see there's just a little bit of a front showing, not too much like Ash vs. Evil Dead or Army of Darkness. On that scene, you actually see the top, kind of the metal on top right here. It's cocked forward and kind of bent in. It's kind of funky and fucked up. With this one, you definitely want to use the carriage bolts. Now, when it comes to the look right here, I made sure that my top handle matched when Ash is laying in the cellar after he gets his ass kicked by Henrietta in Evil Dead 2. The length and the positioning of it. So you got to remember that. You gotta look at everything at all angles, or pick the best scene that you want, of course. Okay, when it comes to the cuff, this is one of Chris Pollock's cuffs. Amazing work. What I did for the paint, it did come shiny and all that other stuff, you know, non-paint or anything. What I did is I actually used, from Michaels, they have this one-shot graphite paint. And what's really cool about it, if you really look closer, you see how it's darker right in between here. The darkness in that paint will sink in to the cracks and crevices. Now, let that dry. Once that was dry, I went over it and brushed on my Folk Art Satin Black all surface paint. Once I actually had it on there, I brushed it off. It gave it this nice antique kind of look. It's nice and shiny in the right spots, but yet it looks old and weathered. When it comes to the back, sorry, this thing's on kind of a tilt here. You have to make it an open back top. It's not closed in like Ash vs. Evil Dead. When it comes to the connectors here, these are L-shaped brackets, and I'm sorry, it's still, this one's under revamp as well. You'll notice right here, you got some milliput that's covering up the Ace Hardware sign, because I'm tired of Chris telling me, he goes, I didn't know they bought those at Ace Hardware. So I'm getting rid of those. Thank you, Chris, for bugging me so much about it. Yeah, I'm getting rid of those, and to fix that problem, once that's dried, it's going to be some black paint with some silver detail on top of that. So Chris, thank you again. Notice the back, again, back at the top does come out a little further. And this is still one of Chris's awesome jobs, is this amazing handmade aircraft fastener nut. Now, some people say, well, that was a square nut. I call bullshit, and so does Chris. If you look at the scene when the cuff or the strap hits the bench, it lays down, if you pause at the right time, you will notice that it's not square. It's in this shape. So, yeah. And I don't know if I think Chris might have stopped selling these cuffs. These nice metal pieces. He did a very fucking nice job with it. So we have that. Thanks again, Chris. When it comes to the raised top right here, there is no little bolt right here like you see on the flat top or workshop chainsaw or Army of Darkness or Ash vs. Evil Dead. This is not here. And on Ash vs. Evil Dead, this is not here on some chainsaws as well. As you can see, got a nice little backing in here. And this is actually a nice resin cast piece with actual bolts coming through all the way through. Where it comes into the details, I really got to give a shout out to Atomy Creations on getting me to really work on the bottom, because I really didn't give a shit at the time. So yes, thank you, Alex from Atomy Creations, for talking to me about this and trying to get it done right. The paint is somewhat tried the match. I tried the match when Ash is actually fighting the the evil in the flesh, the force in the flesh, with the black paint down here. Now, when it comes to the bolts, you got one right here, you got one right here, and they should match up directly across from each other. That was some kind of bracket they did back in the day. I don't know what it was for, but these bolts are actually from a Homelite XL. These are actually stock bolts. Then you have one down here. See that one in that corner? Remember I talked about that little bracket with the bolt? Then went from the bottom up here to another bolt. That's what that was for. You can do that. You don't have to do that. It's up to you. Bob Ross the crap out of this thing. Let your imagination just fly. If you look where the toggle switch is here, it's even with this line here. Now, the toggle switch, you want to have a 3-point position. You got this, that, wait, hold on, that. You want to have all three. You got to make sure it sits straight, just straight out. Really, that's really what you want. You can do all this. You don't have to do all this. It's really kind of up to you. Also, when it comes to the cuff attachments, there is no bottom cuff attachments. Now, let me show you a little something of why I did my placement like this. Let me set it where it should be. Okay, if you look at the bottom, you'll see there's a little gap here. But if I have, like I wear it and I'm wearing like a sleeve or something, it will actually pull it out a little further, exactly how Ash had his on when Henrietta's flying at him in Evil Dead 2 in the cabin. So it's like this, but when I put a sleeve on, I'm wearing a sleeve shirt and I put this on, it actually pulls it back just a little bit. The reason why I wanted it like that is because I didn't want this thing hanging way out. When it just sits, I want it to look just perfect. So got to remember, guys, this is really on revamp right now. I'm really busy, really tired, actually. I've been working all night tonight. I got all the ones for Chicago done. Oh, and by the way, these two bolts right here, the positioning of them is relative to the flat top. But you do not want bolts in the front. You do not want all kinds of extra bolts around the body like Army of Darkness. Another thing is I don't have the paint completely done for the new handle. And also, when it comes to the body bolts right here, these two, you don't have to have them. For the most part, they didn't have them in Evil Dead 2. But if your bracket needs to be connected anywhere, I do suggest to either use these ones right here or the existing holes right there. Do not drill all kinds of major crap through it. If you want to be accurate and look really good, that's where you want to go. Before I go, the handle is pretty much straight cut, slightly rounded with a little bitty hole in it. If you have a big hole, I've talked about it before, fill it in and just drill a little bitty hole here and repaint it. And also remember, the front of this handle has to be rounded. Don't get it super round, more somewhat of an oval, but not quite. And really, that's it. I mean, if you guys want any more details on this chainsaw, let me know. I will go over everything when everything's revamped on all the chainsaws, just because I have the time now to do this versus having to do it after Chicago. After Chicago will be the post-apocalyptic chainsaw build. And so I'm going to concentrate all of my efforts onto that. So guys, I've been rambling on. I hope this helped you guys out. This one does have a horizontal handle in it, not a vertical handle. So you can do a vertical handle. It's really your preference. But guys, until next time, I'm sorry I've been rambling. It's really late. I got a few other things I got to build. Until next time, you stay groovy. All right, guys, before I let you go, let me show you just a couple more details that I forgot to mention. Now, when it comes to this edge right here, you want to definitely cut it down, not too much. You want it to be somewhat similar to the Workshed chainsaw. And also, when it comes to this edge here, you want to almost make it flat. Army of Darkness is mostly flat right there, but you want to make it pretty dang close to being flat. It's really what you want because it has more of a lip on the bottom. Now, if you're doing Army of Darkness, you definitely want to cut this flat all the way across. You want to get rid of all that stuff. You're going to insert a cuff, that kind of thing. Evil Dead 2 is just a little bit different. And like I've said a long time in the past, you know, minus the bar, of course, you want to be able to sit upright. Now, all of my chainsaws without the bar, I can pretty much just set them up upright. You know, that can tell you if you have perfect placement or not, if you can do that with just the body. When I talked about replacing the handle, as you can tell, it looks really, really good up here. The length is perfect. And one thing is, I went over the two-part epoxy placement for the wood. Let's say like you're like me and replace the handle. Now, one method you can do, if you can reuse the metal, is get a nice blade in between here, wherever you have a little spot, and you can just whoosh, slice it right off and then start completely over. So you don't have to replace the wood as long as it'll fit. So I'm really happy with this chainsaw. Have no complaints. It's going over a little revamp. The only thing I have left to do is do some final paint here on the grill. And that's really it. The reason why the bar is off of it, this one will go with me to Chicago HorrorCon Flashback Weekend. This one I will get signed by Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi. So, you know, I figured might as well pick my favorite chainsaw. But until next time, guys, stay groovy and keep building. I am so impressed with a lot of you guys really pushing yourself on making these chainsaws. So, guys, I'm glad I can help you. If you guys have any questions, concerns, anything like that, let me know. Any more questions or where to contact Chris to get this awesome piece right here. And also, he is planning, I think he's selling a few more of these cuffs, but I think only within the United States. So if you're local here in the United States, let me know if you guys want this or you want that. Let me know. I don't know if Chris is going to really just start marketing these things. The thing is, he's going to, when you get them from him, he's only going to drill this top one. That's it. You're going to have to figure out everything else. So just to let you guys know. So don't be disappointed if you get it and you're like, oh, the holes aren't drilled out. Well, the thing is, he doesn't know your top. He doesn't know your bottom straps. He doesn't know what you're doing. So that will have to be up to you. He will make sure it's placed in the right spot up here. Then you figure everything else out for your chainsaw. If you're willing to do that for your cuff and willing to go that distance, definitely contact me and I will contact Chris and he will contact you back. So guys, you please stay groovy. I will do some live feeds from HorrorCon in Chicago, Flashback Weekend, of course, and introduce you guys on camera live with Chris. And also Roger, who made the Power Glove, will be there. I will also do a video with him, and you guys get to meet him firsthand. Until next time, guys, stay groovy.